Today I want to talk about a feature of the Azure Data Factory copy activity, which is called Implicit Column Mappings. And what this means is that if you are pulling data from a source data set and loading it to a sink or target data set, and if those two data sets have the same column names, in the copy activity you do not need to define the schema or map columns from your source to your destination. Azure Data Factory copy activity will handle all of that for you. So what this will allow you to do is you can use a single copy activity and reuse it simply by changing the connection properties of your source and changing the connection properties of your destination, just the locations of those two things. So for example, if you are extracting data from a file in Data Lake and loading it to a table in SQL Server, if the columns of the file in Data Lake are the same as those in the table that you're loading to, that's all you have to do is define, this is the file I want to extract from, and this is the table I'm loading to, and Azure Data Factory copy activity just takes care of the rest. So if you can picture a scenario where maybe you've got a number of files in Azure Data Lake, maybe in different folders, but they all have different structure. But if you're mapping them to a corresponding set of tables in a database that also have varying structure, but there's kind of a one-to-one between the file and the table, you can use that single task just repeatedly, just changing the names of the connections, and it'll map this automatically. This is a really powerful time-saving tool if you're developing an Azure Data Factory and you've got kind of a repetitive pattern of, okay, I'm taking something from point A and point B and just repeating it over and over and over again. This is a great way to take advantage of this. This is in contrast to the way it worked in integration services, for example. So if you've used that, you know that with a data flow task that you would have to map columns from your source to your destination. Now the designer would help you do that automatically if the columns matched, but what you're left with is explicit column mappings, and you could not really use the same data flow task to load data sources of varying structure. But with Data Factory copy task, you can absolutely use the same task to load data structures or data files, with varying structure. That's a very powerful tool. So part of the trick is that when you're defining your source and sink data sets is that you do not define the schema. And I'll show you that here on this screenshot here is where you can define the schema if you want. But if we know that the source and target column names are the same, you do not define the schema. Likewise here on this screenshot, I'll show you on the mapping. If you know that your source columns, are matching your target columns, you do not need to define a mapping. And that's it. That's implicit column mappings with the Azure Data Factory copy activity. I hope you enjoyed this. If you have any questions about Azure Data Factory or Azure or using the cloud data platform in your organization, please reach out and let us know. Thanks for watching.